Hi, good day. I'm immensely grateful for yet another opportunity to be talking to you today. Today's conversation is a very important one, given the things that are unfolding when it comes to the LGBTQ movement, and in terms of I'm gonna tag people on the tweets when I share this video. Ideally, we'd hoped to do this directly on Twitter, but the Twitter support team currently does not allow us to update a mobile number, which is required to verify ourselves. Whilst the support team is working through it, let's keep the conversations going, right? In terms of when I do tag people, please do run with the action item. I think it's really important that we as leaders, and I'm not just limiting ourselves to business leaders, across the board, right? Every individual at their own level is a leader. Okay, in your community, in your home, in your town, in your city, really doesn't matter the level of influence you command. What is important is we have this conversation, and every individual who is listening to this video, share it with at least 5 other people. So let's build awareness, because today's conversation is going to focus on the documentary, What is a Woman? And some of you all have already shut yourselves down and said it's a transphobic documentary. No, it's not. I have seen the documentary personally, and it's an open-ended documentary. Plus, it creates a lot of awareness. So from that standpoint, I'm going to at least earnestly request all business leaders tagged to take an action to devote the hour and a half within your offices, because in any case, we do run at least an hour and a half long information session, awareness session, whatever you call it, around LGBTQ and the policies within our companies, right? When you actually see the documentary, you will be shocked. If you have not, you should. You will be shocked to learn that people who identify themselves as trans and go through the medical procedure end up committing suicide in 7 to 10 years. And that is a concern. And that should raise a flag for all of us in the business community, because we are proactively investing time in creating awareness around LGBTQ in our companies and our employees, our colleagues, right? Our friends, and in the community, our friends, our family members are going to be impacted by this decision that they take to go through the procedure. So, I mean, in about 5 years from now, I will not be surprised if we have an extended family of the employee, friends, an immediate family of our employees who went through the medical procedure, who identified themselves as trans and then went through the procedure and ended up committing suicide. We as employers will be responsible. Okay? Why? Because we are investing time to create awareness about LGBTQ. Are we not? As part of that awareness, conversation from people who have actually gone through the trans procedure is also our responsibility. Either we do it all or we don't do any. We can't cherry pick and just show the happy, rosy picture that pharma companies want us to show. Okay? So I'm earnestly requesting, because I do not want to lose a single human being to suicide because we as leaders failed in creating awareness. Okay? That's point number 1. And please, if I have not tagged you, does not mean you're not a leader. The reason I've tagged a select few leaders is because they have circle of influence. They don't have power, they do have circle of influence. And I want to leverage that circle of influence and push the sow the seed in their circles. That's all that the tagging is about. So if you're listening to this video, please do share it. Please do create awareness. Please do take the time to see the documentary, What is a Woman? Okay. Matt and the entire team who brought the documentary What is a Woman together, hats off to y'all. I think you'll have done a stellar job of bringing it all together and not defining it. You've left it open-ended. You've brought people who are hypocrites, who promote themselves as supporters of LGBTQ, but who are not even aware of the issues and what really happens to the individual through that entire process. Okay. Amazing, really amazing the way you'll have brought the whole thing together. And in terms of the rest of the conversation, I'm going to focus on answering some questions so that if you're an adult, happy for you to continue watching the video. But I'm trying to focus on preteens, teens, and early adults. Okay, because there's a gap, and someone needs to step up as an adult and have this conversation with them. And somehow, having seen the documentary, if a university professor who majors and who is part of the academic system does not have the answers, it then falls on people like me who have the answers to step up and share that knowledge. And that is what this rest of this video is going to be about. It's a knowledge transfer session. Okay. In terms of, if you're an adult, happy for you to stay on. But my focus is going to be then. So some of the content you may already be aware. I do not know what your journey has been, but I'm really hoping you are aware. Okay. Who knows, the entire session may be an eye-opener for you too. So stay on. Next, Xander Vivian, you should consider yourself very lucky to have Elon in your life. He has gone above and beyond promoting and creating awareness around the issues when it comes to the choice of the trans medical procedure, right? And I'm really proud of EM, and you should as well, right? Just being, he's not absent, right? He has a viewpoint. He sees it from and understands it from first principle, and you will understand as you listen in to this segment through to the end. Because and so are Matt's children. If you're listening to this, Matt is a father who's present with you, right? You are lucky. And to every individual whose parents are proactively participating in these conversations, asking quality questions of you, are concerned for you, are there for you, right? Each of you individuals should consider yourselves lucky. And to any individual who does not have a parent who is assisting you ask quality questions, this segment, I am here for you through this segment. The likes of Elon, the likes of Matt are also very much accessible to you. Okay? I know for a fact EM spends a lot of time on Twitter interacting with just about anybody who's wanting to interact with him, right? Which is just exceptional. I wouldn't put in so much time on an online platform as much as he does, but he's committed to it, right? So please invest time in listening to the segment and then come back with questions. And we are all here for you. Okay, there's a lot of support mechanism for you. All right, and I am straight. if you are an individual who is straight and feel left out and or feel singled, whether as an early adult, whether as a teen, preteen, in your environment, do reach out. Okay, you're not alone. Okay, in terms of the other thing I wanted to clarify, preteens, teens, and early adults, if I by mistake call you all kids, please don't hold it against me. Okay, I'm old enough to have my own kids. I'm not married. My man's not shown up. So when I say kids, I'm coming from a place of love, from as a mother would, rather than trying to demean you or trying to box you into a framework which says you, because you're a kid, you cannot do this, or because you're a kid, you do not understand this. Okay. And whilst we're at it, I do have any man who is single, who's looking for his better half. Let's plug it in. Go to my website. There is a Cupid challenge on there, the fastest man who takes action wins. But if EM takes action before you and you lose to EM, then hard luck. Okay. It's all about action, I think, at the end of the day. So let's keep to the topic at hand. In terms of why am I the person having this conversation? Why am I the person having this knowledge transfer session with you all? Predominantly because of the kind of journey I've had. I'm a very curious human being. I ask a lot of questions. I've traveled to over 45 different countries, and I've done that on my own, not with my parents, but by myself, right? So I've experienced life, and not just as an adult, but ever since I was 5-6 years old onwards, I've made my own decisions. If you get a chance, get your hands on $1 Billion You: The Secrets. It's a book that I have written, which has my own life experiences I've shared, and then given y'all action items to create your own model based on my frameworks, right? And in there, I've actually discussed the entire event that happened in my life, where my dad gave me complete freedom to make my choices, right? Except in my intimate sphere. So I get into that in the intimate sphere section of the book as well. So I've fallen, I've hurt myself. I have no godfather. My dad is a very accomplished man. He's a very intelligent man. On my dad's side, they're Swiss German. On my mom's side, they're Indian. So I'm mixed. As a kid, I've had enough exposure because my dad is so forward thinking, and because my dad has a very clear vision in terms of, I'm going to give my kids the building blocks, and from there they need to go out and create what they want in their life for themselves. So nothing has been given to us on a platter. Everything I've done, I've done it on my own, self-made, from ground up, from scratch. So 17 years ago, when I moved to Australia in 2004, I was 20 now. 2024 will be 20 years. But in terms of when I came in by myself. I had no friends here. I had no network here. And I've built everything, every single building block I've had to put in place, right? I do not have sponsors in the sense across industry or across countries promoting me. Again, it's out of my own self-interest that I'm having this conversation, because I think where we are going, if we do not wake up, we are going to derail ourselves as humanity. And this conversation, that's why, is very, very important. And it's important that preteens, teens, and early adults listen to this segment, right? And that's why we're having this conversation. But conversation is two-way, Afrros. How do we reach you? You can jump on my website, and there is a contact form. You can, drop in your message, your question, and I will respond. The other way is on LinkedIn, in mail, on Twitter. I don't have my personal account, but we have a company page. You can reach us there if that's what you would like to do. But please do reach out. After listening to this session, if you do have questions, please do reach out. Okay. In terms of so when at 5 or 6 as a child, I had the ability to make my own decisions. Was I overwhelmed? Yes, absolutely. So what was my structure around it, right? It was relying on first principles. What do you mean by that, Afrros? So I'll give you an example. I don't really know you, right? But you're born in a family. And if your family is Christian, you've adopted Christianity. If your family is Muslim, you've adopted Islam. And I say adopted because most individuals don't stop to question, don't stop to get to the nuts and bolts, the details, and down to the basic building block to understand. First be curious, then dig in, understand, assimilate, and then integrate into their life. When it comes to religion, most children, at birth, right? Most children are born into a religion. It takes a lot as an individual to step up and ask questions and dig in. So how did I make it happen? I did not. My dad actually made certain that we had avenues. We went to an Anglo-Indian school, so it was predominantly Christianity in school. We were growing up in India, so we were surrounded by non-believers, Hindus. Again, Hinduism is not a religion. Ekeshwar is the religion. Hinduism was a word coined by all invaders who came into India, and when they came into India, they were pleasantly surprised. Hang on, this country is weird. This country has Christianity, it has Judaism, it has Islam, it has this Vedic culture. What is the religion of this land? Who are these people? So what they did was they collectively coined a term called Hinduism for everybody who is south of the river Indus. Now, that means Afghanistan, Pakistan, present day, Nepal, India, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, everybody collectively was called Hindus. So it really didn't matter whether you practice Christianity or Islam or Ekeshwar, which is the Vedic religion. Whatever your belief system, you were a Hindu because you were living south of the river Indus. Okay, that is where the word has been coined. Now, and Ekeshwar is a Sanskrit word. Ekeshwar means one God. Let's not digress. Let's stay focused, right? Going back to what I was trying to help you understand, why did I get into investigating theology? So in terms of school, it was Christian, surrounded by non-believers. And then at home, we had someone coming in from the mosque who would teach us Arabic. And we were learning how to read the Quran. And because my father gave us these avenues and access points to knowledge, I could question rather than just blindly follow what my family was following. So here is a father who put knowledge and inquisitiveness before as part of his parenting, rather than being a father who was controlling and told you this is right, that is wrong. Okay, so you may or may not have such parents. It really doesn't matter in the West whether you have such parents or not, because most parents give you the freedom to have access to internet, right? So all you have to do is ask quality questions. Make a note of that. Quality questions will propel you to heights you've never imagined. Quality questions will propel you to heights you've never imagined. Okay? It's really important for your generation, because I do not want 5-6 years down the line, Gen Zs and Gen Alphas turning around and saying, Afrros, your generation did us disservice when all of this was happening. The LGBTQ, the trans, the medical procedures, everything was shoved onto us. You were not there for us, right? That's why we are having this conversation. So pay attention. So that's what I mean when I say first principles. Get curious, ask questions, have access to knowledge. And once I had that access, when it comes to theology, I asked questions. I read the books, the different texts. And reading those books, I did not read them as a religious text, right? I read them as a storybook. And that is what it is. It's a human user manual. That's what I call it, because it's filled with experiences of individuals and situations they are in, and how did they behave? How did they react? How did they act? All of it is being discussed through those stories. And each story, each book rather, is backward compatible. What do I mean by that? All the way back to the Vedas, there's only one God. I'll say that again. All the way back to the Vedas, there's only one God. So it's backward compatible, and it's very elegantly done. And there are 124,000 prophets. 124,000 prophets. And prophets were individuals. Every human being has areas of growth, challenge, and has good qualities, right? You have your own set of good qualities, you have your own challenges. Likewise, these were individuals who had absolutely challenges, but fewer challenges. And that's why they were all prophets, okay? They understood that the book is not for you to be a fanatic, but to guide you. It's a human user manual. That's what it is. Okay? And when you look at it from that openness, you can then, instead of getting into rituals, you will then start correlating the situations in the books with actual physics, with actual math. And that is what I ended up doing. And that's when it all falls together and it makes sense. Okay? And that is what I mean by first principle. When you're looking at any problem, you need to look at it holistically. You need to look at it from the lens of science, from the lens of math, from the lens of art, from the lens of theology, finance, governance. All of it needs to come together. That is when you can get to real answers. And that is exactly what we're going to do with What is a Woman as well. Okay? And in terms of what do the books say about what is a woman? Do the books talk about it? The books talk predominantly of what is a human. In the Quran says a human is ashraful makhlukat, the noblest of creatures. The Vedic books, they say Aham Brahma Asmi. The Bible says I am the eternal flame. The Torah says, I am, right? So if you look at each of these, they all are correlated. They are the same thing, ain't they? So why do people fight? Why is there so much bloodshed? Why did we have crusades, right? The reason we have had crusades is fanaticism. It's not about doubt. Fanaticism, what leads to fanaticism? Ignorance leads to fanaticism, not doubt. Doubt leads you to questions, and questions lead you to curiosity, right? You will dig. If you have doubt, you will go asking questions. But when you're ignorant, you're going to blindly follow and become an extremist, right? And that's why building block, when it comes, and it's not just for engineering, first principles, building a life based on first principle needs to be a way of life in every sphere of your existence. Okay? So from there then, how does, so we've looked at how do the books describe human? How do we understand what is a woman? For that matter, we can turn around and say, what is a man, right? And again, most of us will not be able to define it unless you have the following piece of knowledge. Now, before I get into it, let me ask you a question. 1 + 1 is 2. Is that right? Everybody knows that. I mean, come on, that's simple math, right? But what does that really mean? Have you thought about what does 1 + 1 = 2 mean? If I'm given one apple and another apple, I now have 2 apples. That's all that it means, Afrros. Does it? Or there's more to it? There is more to it. 1 + 1 = 2 is talking about the duality of life. What do you mean by that? Night and day, joy and sorrow, man and woman, feminine energy, masculine energy. Everything is in pairs on planet Earth, without an exception. There's North Pole, there's South Pole, right? So everything on planet is in pairs. You're not meant to live by yourself. I'll say that again. Everything on the planet, in the cosmos, not just this planet, on every freaking planet, is in pairs. Okay? Because 1 + 1 = 2 is true even on Mars. It's true even on Pluto, isn't it? It's true in Alpha Centauri as well. So it's not just Milky Way, right? So you need to be asking, and again, it goes back to first principle, right? You need to get into the habit of asking quality questions so that you understand knowledge. You see, it's one thing to understand it intellectually. It's a completely different thing when you can start integrating that knowledge into your life. Okay? Every conversation with me, and you can ask my friends, I can explain love in terms of physics. I can explain love in terms of chemistry, right? I can apply math to different situations, day-to-day life situations. And people are like, man, I never thought about it this way, right? Because they are not thinking about first principle. And your parents may not think about it. That's okay, right? They're humans, they're going to make mistakes. And that's why I touched upon the prophets. You have 124,000 prophets. And you have access to each of them through the books. Go meet them. Go learn from them. You don't need to limit yourself to your parents. I did not. I spent quality time from time to time with these prophets and I learned from them. I learn about strategy. I learn about life. I learn about curiosity. I learn about the quality of questions they asked and why were they relevant to their times. Because whilst history will give you a view, absolutely it will. But historians are paid to collect information based on who is financing them. Okay? So if a king of a particular country is financing them, they're going to portray that country in the best of lights. And this understanding comes to you when you've read enough historians. Okay? And that's why it just reading history and limiting yourself to select historians is fatal. It absolutely is. Okay. So, in terms of keeping the conversation going, in terms of physics, how do we understand what a human is? Fantastic. And this is the missing piece of the puzzle. Okay, most humans have not understood this. Your parents have not understood this, and that's why at birth they do not want to identify you as a male or a female. They think they're doing you service by letting you decide whenever you are ready. Next time your parents tell you that, educate them, right? And here's the nugget. In physics, I mean, if you're a preteen, you may not have, no, perhaps you have, perhaps you've not. Depends on, how curious you are and what knowledge you seek. But in physics, there is something called as wave-particle duality. What does that mean? In the simplest terms, it means that you can have energy, and energy can transform into mass, into physical form. Okay? So when you have wave-particle duality, it actually means, what does that mean? It means as a human being, I am in the physical form, right? And from this physical form, if I vibrate at the right frequency, all of the mass, all the atoms, down to the quarks, will start vibrating. Is that true? Yeah, they'll all start vibrating. And this physical form will convert completely into energy. Completely into energy, which means I will disappear in this physical form and I will become complete energy. So, what happens at birth? At birth, the soul has a choice of manifesting in the physical form and manifesting in the physical form as a male or a female. Okay? And at that point, your soul, which means you, have decided what you want to manifest as. You already did make a choice at birth. And that's why you have a physical form of a male being or a female being. I'll say that again. At birth, you made a choice. You, the soul, made a choice to manifest in the physical form. And the physical form you decided you wanted to show up as was masculine, was male, or a female with the female anatomy. Okay? So, when you've made that choice at birth, your parents are wrong to debate whether you're a female or a male. Right? That's one. Second, Afrros, I get that, but how do you explain children who are born intersex? There are, what percentage? 1.7% of world's population is born intersex. What does intersex mean? Intersex means the anatomy of the being has masculine and feminine, well, I shouldn't say masculine and feminine, I should say male and female sex organs. Okay? So it's mixed. And how does transgender fit in then? Transgender is an individual who is born at birth. They decided they wanted to show up as a male or a female, and down the line they have changed their mind and want to align to the opposite sex. So they were born as a male but now want to live their life as a female, and so are looking to go through medical procedure which will change their physical anatomy and align with that of a female being. Okay, and vice versa for a female. So now that we've understood different definitions, going back to the question, how do you explain children who are born intersex? What really happens there, Afrros? Why do these children show up as they do? Are they confused? They're not confused. It's because of hormonal imbalances, genetic and or hormonal imbalances. To every individual who identifies as a preteen, teen, or an early adult, my request to you is at least meet one intersex individual in person and have a conversation with them. Okay? Before deciding whether you are a trans or not. Why is that important, Afrros? It is important because when you interact with these individuals, it'll be an eye-opener for you, and it'll give you a better understanding of your own choice, which you've already made at birth and now are debating if it was the right choice for you as you're considering identifying yourself as trans. Okay? So have I met intersex individuals? Yes, I did, in Mumbai. And that's the only city where I've met these individuals. Why is that? At least in the West, including Australia, at least in Australia, our constitution does not allow us to discriminate against these children. Okay? So they are very much part of our society, and they've blended so beautifully. We do not even know if an individual is an intersex child at birth and has gone on to become an adult. Okay? They have the same rights as any other human as per the Australian Constitution. And since these individuals have the same rights, they cannot, right? They cannot be discriminated against. That's one. And two, in day-to-day interaction, you can't really tell, right? That's the beauty of it. But in countries like India, the constitution may or may not, but the society has not evolved yet. And in such societies, the conversation around trans, around LGBTQ is really, really important. In fact, in India, the Tata Group has now created avenues for intersex individuals to apply for jobs, which means that that community now has avenues to educate themselves and earn a respectful livelihood, which is excellent, right? And that societies that do not have strong constitutions absolutely need the LGBTQ conversations. As against that, in the West, I think our constitutions are evolved enough to integrate every individual. Okay. Now, perhaps Indian constitution is as well. I've not really read the constitution, but the society absolutely does not. And that is why I did get a chance to talk to a group of individuals. Generally, when you're in Mumbai and when you're traveling by road on the traffic lights, when they turn red, these individuals will come up to you and they will ask you for money, and in turn, they will give you blessings. And generally, it's the society is at least out of Mumbai, is respectful of these individuals, and most people give them money and because they want blessings, right? And they are also invited when a new child is born, so to partake in the festivities, and that then becomes a source of earning money for this community. But overall, the community did not, for a very long time, at least when I was growing up, was not allowed to take on jobs. And I've had this conversation, right? Why are you doing this? Why you're able-bodied? Why? Because I was still a child. I couldn't see why they were not actually applying for a job. Rather, why were they begging for money? And that's how I saw it as a child. So they helped me understand through the conversation. I didn't know what intersex was at that point. But when I had that dialogue with them, I learned and I grew. And through that dialogue, I asked them another question. I asked them, if we had a medicine that would allow you to be male or female, which one would you want to be? Because I'm a student of science and I'm growing up and I want to be a scientist, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a doctor. All of that is going on in my head. And if I can apply my gray matter to this problem, I would have solved it, right? And the response surprised me. They said, Afrros, I appreciate that you want us to be like you or like normal humans, but I'm happy with my body. This is me. This is the choice I made to show up in this lifetime. And I take pride in it. And I wouldn't want it any other way. That, my friend, is self-esteem. Okay? Being able to understand and own your own self with all your challenges and your strengths is what self-esteem is. And that is what I saw in action talking to that individual. How beautiful is that? See, I think at some level, you need to ask yourself, take a step back and ask yourself, are you identifying as a trans because you lack self-esteem? And are you running away from the issues or the challenges of being a male going through puberty or a female going through puberty? And is that why you're thinking, hang on, the grass is greener on the other side, let me go check it out? If that is what is going on in your psyche, that is your thought process, I earnestly request you to talk to at least one intersex individual. Try to understand physically what does that entail for them day to day. How difficult is it? What are the challenges? Because once you understand their challenges, I think you may be enlightened and may have second thoughts and or may affirm your identification as a trans. One of the two will happen, right? Now, going back to the documentary itself, if you do choose to identify as a trans, the documentary clearly highlights the medical procedures currently in the market. At the end of 7 to 10 years, make you so depressed that you would want to commit suicide. There are a lot of other procedures, cosmetic procedures, for instance, that can go wrong and humans go into depression and they commit suicide. So why is this any different, Afrros? I think as an individual, you need to be aware. If you're aware about what you're getting into, then it's all a thumbs up, okay? But if you're going in there ignorantly, thinking that I am currently a male, I transform into a female, all my problems will disappear, or I'm a female right now, I transform into a male, all my problems will disappear. Not true, okay? Each physical form has its challenges as you grow up, okay, at every stage of human development. And at every stage of development, there are some perks, okay? So, is one better than the other? No, one is not better than the other. You need both masculine and feminine energy. You need North Pole and South Pole. You need joy and sorrow to make a life whole, right? So male being is not better than the female being. or female being is not better than the male being. Being a male is not easier than being a female. Being a female is not easier than being a male. Okay, so get that very clear in your head. Okay, in terms of, we've discussed physics, we've discussed what the books talk about humans, we've seen and understood that at birth you have made a choice and you manifested in that physical form, and then you've gone a few years down the line and now you feel, hang on, I made a wrong choice at birth and I want to move out of my current physical form into a different physical form. And we've also seen medical procedures, current medical procedures are at best at 20%, okay? Not even 25, 20%. So, and that we need to be aware of it, okay? The next point I want to make you aware of is through yoga, you can experience outer body experiences. What do you mean by that, Afrros? So the movie is called A Peaceful Warrior, and it's a movie on Dan Milburn, who was a gymnast and whose only goal was to represent US and win gold medal for US, and he broke his leg, and because he had broken his leg he couldn't compete. But then how does he rebuild himself and then actually goes out and wins a gold medal for US? As part of that movie, you will see Dan is sitting on top of a beam in the room where he and his mates are practicing gymnastics. And that is the easiest form of outer body experience. Have I done it? Yes, because I practice yoga. As part of yogic practices, you can absolutely come out of your body, I can put myself on the roof of the room that I'm in, the ceiling or the roof, and look at my entire being. The aura, the physical form, the energy levels, the layers around me. Okay, I can do that. The astral layer around me. It takes practice. In the West, there are very few people who have this knowledge and this understanding. Okay, and you do not hear this day to day in your family setup or your office setup or your school setup, right? Because teachers have never tried it. They don't even know about this knowledge. They do not know how to apply the physics, wave-particle duality, to how humans have manifested, how have they birthed themselves, right? That correlation, that link is missing because teachers have never really understood, experienced the physics and math that they teach. It's a gap. Be kind to them, have the knowledge, and transfer the knowledge. Okay, so going back to transforming outer body experiences, if you're looking to meet such individuals, absolutely feel free to reach out to me. I can help you, guide you through it. But if you get a chance, go and do a Himalayan base camp. That base camp, on the slopes of Himalayas, there are a lot of individuals who have given up life and are meditating, and through their meditations, they can transform themselves into any form that they want. Any form? Yes, any form. They can transform themselves into animals of their choice, for instance. Now, being able to meet such individuals is rare, and you will need to know who is an authentic individual and who is not. That's one. But two, where Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, where you're identifying yourselves as cat or a horse and you're wearing a tail, hello, there are no shortcuts to transforming yourself. Okay, is transformation possible? Absolutely. If you can be, if wave particle duality is bullseye, it absolutely is, then you've manifested yourself in physical form. You can go back into a different energy, and from that energy manifest into a different form. So whilst transforming in your physical form is absolutely possible, we do not have the medical procedures that ace it. That's one. And two, adding a costume tail to your being doesn't make you a cat, doesn't make you a horse. Okay, if you're in your physical form as a male or a female, be respectful of your choice that you've made at birth. Okay, and don't expect fellow humans to identify you as a cat or a horse, though you choose to call yourself a cat or a horse. Because A, you're not a cat or a horse. Sorry, we get it. You want to be one, but you're not, because you've not mastered how to physically transform yourself. I challenge you to go seek that knowledge. It is absolutely possible. If wave particle duality is real, which it is, then changing from this physical form into a form of your choice is absolutely possible. Outer body experience, as I have helped you understand, is absolutely possible. So if you're really, really committed to being a cat or a horse, go be a cat. Go be a horse. Don't add a costume of a cat and expect us to call you a cat or a horse. Okay? That's my challenge to you. And before we wrap up, so we've seen what the books say about the being. We have seen wave particle duality. We have seen that at birth you've made your choice, and it's that choice that has helped you show up as a male or a female. And trans individuals at some point after their birth want to change from male to a female or female to a male. And my recommendation to you, before making that choice, before identifying yourself as a trans, go talk to an intersex individual, right? And in terms of outer body experiences, they are very much possible. Wave particle duality is real, and that is why you can transform from your physical form into a different form, right? But you need to master it. There's method to the madness. You cannot just add a costume of a cat and say, I'm a cat, meow. Doesn't work that way, okay? Finally, I want you to think about who benefits from the trans medical procedure. Pharma companies, politicians, and medical practitioners, right? And they're doing it at your expense. You are the guinea pig. Is that true? Are the politicians going out and getting the trans medical procedure done? No, they're not. Are the pharmaceutical company owners getting a trans procedure done? No, they're not. But they're selling it to you because they will be making years and years worth of revenue through you. Okay? So, and I'm not saying, see, if it's a genuine case and you really are completely convinced this is what you want, then absolutely, as an individual, you absolutely have the right to do what you want with your life, right? We can all take the horse to water, but we cannot make it to drink. You need to make choices for yourselves. In terms of, I think I've covered all the points that I have. Perhaps there's one last question, right? I think if you're a Gen Z or a Gen Alpha, especially in one of the Western countries, you're going to turn around and say, why do our parents not have this knowledge of Rose? I'm going to say, be kind to them. Okay? It's rather unfortunate. Political leaders, business leaders, especially out of the US right now, with the whole anti-abortion law that has been passed recently, it's a shame that leaders coming out of US have let the US society down when it comes to that ruling, right? And I take on board, your question is very legit. Why do my parents not have this knowledge? Forgive them, okay? And be humble, right? Educate them. If they are willing to learn and grow, absolutely share your knowledge with them. But if they're not, don't get hung up. You are an individual. You made a choice to show up in the form that you have on this planet. Live out your potential. Okay? Not all of us have supportive parents, and that's okay. You need to support yourself. And that's why in the beginning, remember how I told you I'm self-made. I do not have a godfather. All the knowledge that I've gathered is because I'm curious. Yes, in my formative years, first few years, my dad did make certain that I grow up to be a curious kid. But beyond that, I've had very little input from my folks. And that, I think, in itself has been a blessing, because I get to ask quality questions and then make choices based on the questions I've asked, right? And that is what I'm going to finally wrap up on. It's important that you get into the habit of asking quality questions. Your life is going to be as rich as the quality of your question you ask of yourself, of people around you. Okay? And if you're not surrounded by supportive group of people, be kind to them, but more importantly, be kind to yourself. Okay? Because not all of us have supportive individuals around us. I'm straight, and because I've had exposure to intersex individuals, I have gay friends, I have lesbian friends. I, as an individual, am very inclusive, but not people around me, not everybody around me is inclusive, okay? And that's okay, because they are at a point in their journey where they're evolving, right? And they may never evolve to be inclusive. That is okay, right? You do not need to justify your choices to anybody. I'll say that again. You do not need to justify your choices to anybody. It's your life, and you, my friend, are the architect of your life. You get to choose, and you get to make crappy choices because it's your life, right? And you can make outstanding choices because it's your life. You are always in control. Doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 5 years old, you could be 50 years old, but the choice needs to be yours. If you have a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, a friend, a spouse controlling your choices for you, dictating what you can and can't do, then you ain't living your life. Okay? And that takes me to one final point on governments allowing governments allowing preteens, not children, preteens, to make the choice on their gender transformation. If you are a preteen who has complete knowledge of on points that I've covered in this segment, then absolutely you can make choices for yourself. Okay? But here's the thing, 99% of y'all have not even considered the points that I've raised, have never interacted with an intersex individual, have never understood that moving from a male to a female body or female to a male body is not going to solve your problems. All right? It's important that you have addressed the condition of having met at least one intersex individual, understood their issues, the strengths, the challenges that they face, and then understood what does the medical procedure entail and the challenges therein, right? Because I absolutely do not want to lose a human being to suicide who has undergone the medical procedure. Okay, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. You should, right? That's what I've been trying to help you understand. Create quality questions. So please step up, send through your questions, either through my website, which has a contact form. You can leave comments on this video, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or through our company page on Twitter. Okay? I look forward to being of service to all you beautiful humans and assisting our community, right? I absolutely do not want to lose any of y'all, any human being, to suicide, whether through the medical procedure or not. I think we should have enough support mechanism on our planet to assist each other and be able to talk people out and or help them see suicide is not an option, right? On that note, I'll sign off for today. Look forward to our next conversation, hopefully soon. Take very good care of yourself. Stay blessed. Talk soon. Ta.